The next presenter is Professor Dhwani Vaishnav from Sanitlal Government Engineering College in India, and the presentation is titled "The River and Human Being: Survival of the Fittest or the Fiercest."
Yeah, a very good afternoon, everyone. This is Dhwani Vaishnav from Bhavnagar, Gujarat. Keeping the river thoughts flowing, I would like to continue with the similar uh, idea or the topic. My title for the discussion today is River and Human Beings, Survival of the Fittest or the Fiercest. Before I start reading or presenting my paper, I would request that I'll just turn off my video because I'm facing some network issues. So I have been, getting warnings for connection. So I'll just close my video. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Uh, since time immemorial, rivers have been the cradle of civilizations, and human beings have a history of their progress, starting from riverbeds, be it evolution of communities or governing the other. However, with increase of our material demands, now we have stopped bothering about the important role of presence of the river and availability of their fresh water. Humans are confident with science and technology that they will use artificial water or produce alternate option for it. So it is almost a kind of race. From which part of the world will humans kill a river faster or damage the environment gradually? Availability of fresh and potable water is going to be a reason worthy for any war in coming years. Even if human beings of advanced world are well aware about the situation, it is astounding to see respect versus rape of the rivers in particular and ecology in general for immediate benefits. Rivers are important sites and they are not excluded from human induced hazards. With the spread of advancement at global level, we are hurriedly harming our planet and not even bothered about the survival of this earth because more efforts are made towards search for possibility of life on the other planets rather than fostering the one where we are already thriving. In the 21st century, humans would have to understand the fact that climate related calamities caused by humans are threats against the survival of ecology. Worldwide longing for progress is driven by consumerist demands for resource extraction and profit, which ignores our place of habitation, this earth. Thus, there is a pressing need for rethinking about subsistence of human beings against the calamities they keep inviting. Rivers are lifelines and they are considered as heaven sent in India. Here, they are not just the water bodies that nurture lives, but they are sacred streams which also express human emotion, faith, and symbol of life in general. The Ganga is a shorthand for Indian rivers. It is one of the oldest and continuously inhabited river sites. Life on its banks is constantly vibrant and mixture of happiness and tears. Even if it is believed that the Ganga is a place where everyone comes to renounce their life, but in reality, bank of the Ganga is most lively place. They throb with music, colors, food, chaos, and human desires. Climate change and carelessness of the devotees are putting this river into danger, making her feebler and putting lives around her in jeopardy. Riversides are the example of nature and culture confluence, but in present time, culture is overpowering the nature for its limitless material progress. Travel has always been a source of knowledge enhancement and building block between different cultures. Travelers take journey around and jot down their experiences to pass on the similar experiences to the readers. The Ganga has one of the iconic sites in India for visit. Purpose be a pilgrimage, tour, or to end one's life. Many local and foreign travelers have taken journey around the ghats of the Ganga and other sacred rivers of India. The Ganga being one of the most visited and discussed by the travelers and writers. Lived lives are presented in the travelogues, and a few selected travelogues are analyzed here in this paper. Ghats of the Ganga have amazed these writers that how people who believe in the supreme nature of the river can pollute her so badly. With this curious question in mind, many foreign travelers visit this river, stay here, and try to bring forth local situations into discussion. It is so sad that foreigners visit and try to give voice to local issues, whereas locals are busy extracting the resources and benefits from the river water. On the name of religion and customs, The river is being treated so harshly that people who witness her condition would certainly agree with Sri Amritlal Vekar, late Amritlal Vekar, a travel writer on the Narmada River, that how he wishes that the river can, if the river can curse who pollute her. Travelers like Eric Newby, Elijah Trojanov, Denison Berwick, Vidisha Banerjee, Julian Crandall Hollick, Victor Mallet, George Black, and a few others have visited the Ganga with the curiosity to see Indian culture and lived lives around this river. In their travel records, they mention that the spiritual ritual faith keep tradition around the Ganga uh, lively. Else, the material reality of the river is different from all of them. People keep pouring waste into her lap, then establish water cleansing project, and at the same time, people are taking dip into the river for their own purification. These travelers wonder at which end real purification might be taking place. In India, religion and superstition is dovetailed. Mythology is omnipresent as a daily reality. Travelers observed that Indians explain most of the happenings through religion or mythology. Even the geography of the country is explained through mythology to people in other parts of India where the rivers like the Ganga does not flow. Religious rituals are one of the key elements for a visit to the Ganga and pollution of the river. People who cannot afford rituals for the dead simply put a symbolic coal into the mouth of the body and they float the dead body into the river. Even police states that they get rid of the dead body by flowing it into the river which they have fished out and which is anonymous. Cremation of such a dead would be a costly affair for them. Ghats of the Ganga offer rituals for from birth to the death. Those who have come for rituals do not bother for leftovers as they leave from the banks. Vivek Desai, a writer of Banaras Diary, says that after cremation on Manikarnika Ghat and Dashashmev Ghat, cows were roaming around, eating away flowers from the cremation ground, and dogs were warming themselves in the warm ashes of the dead. While others were waiting for cremation, tea was served and he spotted a boy who was drying up his pant in the heat of the fire. Makar Sankranti and Kumbh Mela are other occasions when ghats of the Ganga are flooded with devotees. Their bodily dirt and other littering of the place affect the river severely. Vidisha Banerjee notes that humans create stress on the river and then in turn, river increases stress on the humans. World's largest gathering like Kumbh Mela of people on the river banks would have an extremely serious impact on the ecosystem. They do not realize that the place is highly at risk due to climate change. A few volunteers and NGOs try to maintain and preserve flora and fauna intact in the area around with tremendous difficulties. They are trying to forge a lifestyle that is simultaneously modern and in harmony with the ecosystem. Cremation ground like Manikarnika Ghat has its own resident menagerie. It manages economics of death. Wood for burning bodies is too costly. It is a business which always remains in boom because of the religious significance of this place. At present, even these burning ghats are also under the effect of climate change. As per the latest reports, due to extreme heat in Varanasi, arrangements at the crematorium broke down. There was waiting for hours at the cremation ghat in Varanasi, and scorching heat was breaking havoc, affecting the cremation process of the dead. No volunteers, no people from Dome family were ready to process the dead bodies because of the heat. There was no shade, drinking water, or toilet facilities. Those who have brought the dead leave the bodies tied to the ladder on the rocky cart and wait slightly afar from the cart. A member of the Dome Raj family, Mata Prasad Chaudhary, who cremates the bodies, appeals that if the permission is given to burn dead bodies in the open without a platform on the banks of the Ganga, then the problem of long wait will end, but it can also increase the waste on the carts. Rivers are life giving, but they are life destroying at the same time. Julian Crandall Hollick notes that people in the north are most concerned with the river of mythology. Up in the mountains, everyone has got respect, but down in the plains, people pretend. They have mere functional relationship with the river. Like for people of Banaras, the river need not have a separate identity as a river and a goddess. But beyond Banaras, everything changes. Reality in Bihar and West Bengal means dealing with the sheer physicality of the Ganga, not her spiritual generosity. Industrial cities have mere functional relationship with the river. Julian Crandall rightly says, I quote, travel writers, novelists, even distinguished academics have focused either on high culture or on the obvious tourist sites and their picturesque mythologies. None of them have attempted to make any real connections between mythology and geography. I unquote. Ecology of the Ganga depends more on her devout than natural phenomena. Biodegradable waste generate amount of pollution and much of it is difficult to discard due to the religious attachment. Rakesh Jaiswal and his friends brought around 50 half-composed dead bodies out from the river. He exclaimed that because of such malaise in the river, illness spread among the locals and pilgrims, but nobody others bother again about the ceremony of the rituals. At the same time, there are no water plants, and if they are installed, they are not fully functional. So, pouring of waste, chromium, and other harmful sewage from industries and tanneries are slowly killing people, animals, and river too. People are not willing to use electric crematoria with the fear of not following the traditional rituals for burning the dead. A few who dare to use this facility do not get much success, as most of the times electricity will not be available. As per Julian Crandall, it is very difficult to coordinate amongst the states through which the river Ganga is flowing. Each one of them has unique issue which make their environment with their involvement with the cure of the river very disinterested. Along with the dead, ritualistic ceremonies play important role in polluting the river. All the waste of the ceremony is left on the ghats of the Ganga, and then ultimately it is floated into the river. However, a positive sign or an initiative by two engineer friends was undertaken after their visit to the Ganga in Kanpur. They were aghast on seeing devotees drinking and bottling up the river, despite river water, despite the evidently visible muck in the water. The obvious culprits for such a filthy situation were tanneries, factories, and sewers that were indiscriminately dumping the refuse into the river. But at the same site, these friends saw temple flowers being dumped into the river, and they turned into mulch as they accumulated and their colors faded away into the murky waters. The research revealed that due to pesticides and chemicals, these flowers make toxic compounds suppressing oxygen level once they come into contact of the river water, thereby gravely threatening the marine life. The initiative called FOOL, PHOOL, was a decision to repurpose this waste coming from places of worship. After a year and a half, flower cycled incense was conceived and crafted. The mission to preserve the river Ganga and empower vernacular people by providing a means to earn their livelihood became a reality. Material advancement is the need of the time, but one must always think that it should not be at the cost of somebody's life. Major cities on the river banks are mostly the cause of the ill health of the river. Mahant Veerbhadra Mishra informs Victor Mallet that Banaras produces 350 million liters a day of sewage and it is able to treat only 100 million liters. Officials are unable or unwilling to implement policies handed down from the top even if these policies are sensible at times. It is also important to note that there are two more problems. There is a lack of water in the river because of the dams, and also the reluctance of Indians to change their behavior or abide by regulations. During monsoons, no treatment plant works, so the wastewater is channeled directly into the river. Many of newly constructed plants can no longer function properly because of the lack of the fund. Tannery owners are not ready to take any responsibility, even if cleaning plant is not functioning properly. They just shrug their shoulders, saying that we are paying government, so it is their lookout. We cannot stop our business. Jal Nigam throws up their hands and says they are starved of funds. The river is just too appropriate a dumping ground. Kanpur is another major city on the riverbank, and groundwater is contaminated there due to the toxic sewage. Chromium was found in the local cattle milk and other produce. Local people suffer from skin disease and cancer, but they do not have choice. Most of them have deformed fingers and toes. They are advised by the doctors not to drink local water, but they do not care as they do not die instantly. They are probably immune to these toxic now, as Dr. Shukla reports. Flora and fauna are the indicators of the health of the environment. In today's time, many species are in the state of extinction or in danger. Human intervention has not only endangered the natural resources, but they are killing flora and fauna around. Fish yields are declining in the Ganga because of increasing chemical pollution from industry and agriculture, and from the practice of some villagers who dynamite the river for fish, though they collect only a small portion of their carnage. Elijah Trojanov describes that to add to this issue, The flow of streams and waterfalls has really gone down. R.K. Sinha, an expert on the Gangetic dolphins and also known as Dolphin Man of India, reports that dolphins are also slowly being made sick by all sorts of toxic compounds, principally organochlorines and carcinogens. They are being poisoned by effluents from the local dye industry. The dolphins are killed because half of their body consists of fat from which oil is extracted for medical use, as bait, and for massage. On the whole, not only the number of animals has reduced, but the quantity of economically utilizable fish stock also has fallen drastically. Along with dolphins, gangetic gavials are also at risk. Due to malaise in Ganga water, gharials are taking shelter at Chambal River and swimming up to Yamuna. Industrial toxins and refuses kill these animals in mass. Bahar, in her book Green Wars, notes that during her visit, she found that snouts of a few gharials were chopped off as they were treated as they were threat for the fishermen. With the chopped nose, the gharials cannot survive, and such mutilation will lead them to their death hurriedly. Sundarban mangroves are also facing troubles due to human intervention. In a huge chunk of the forest, locals are allowed to fish and brave the tigers to collect honey and bamboo, catching of prawn seeds. Prawn farms and ponds destroy the landscape and pollute waterways. Ships ply the larger channels on their way, which create disturbance in the waterways also. These mangroves are dying. Higher salinity at the mouths of the Ganga over the previous 30 years, mainly on the Faraka barrage, has caused this damage. It is extremely difficult to live in the villages around the mangrove, though they found to be peaceful. People there suffer from malaria, diarrhea, hookworms, threadworms, giardia, skin disease, and respiratory tract infections. It is noted that turtles, gavials, crocodiles, birds, otter, and freshwater dolphins are exploited heavily throughout the Ganga basin. In Gadwal, musk deer are poached and Himalayan herbal plants are faked for handsome amount, and the government does not arrest those culprits because everything is fine around for the system. Towards the conclusion, the final point will be dam and barrages and their impact on the river basin and ecology of the river. Dams and barrages are the pointers of development, but they are collapsing the surroundings with deadly hazards. Dams are unwanted necessities. The Tehri Dam is constructed as a boon, but it has brought many drawbacks with it. Silt is beneficial, but it is equally damaging the farmlands. On the plain, it also changes the river's character and position from one year to the next, leading to unexpected floods and change of course. At least 24,000 people will have to resettle, and already several thousand acres of forest have been cut down to make room for them in another valley. The weight of the water might cause seismic activity or structure to collapse. As per Deccan Herald, scientists of National Geophysical Research Institute have reported that there is an active fault line beneath Tehri Dam that enhances earthquake risk. Because of the Faraka barrage, the river is cut off from its tributaries by huge stones and earth embankments. The weight of the boulders is more than the coarse sediment at the base of the river bank can hold. It rather accelerates erosion. The river swipes away land and habitation on its plain because of the embankment. Faraka has accelerated the death of the jute trade and fishing activity. Since the Faraka was built, the coal-fired power plant next to it has brought intermittent electricity to the region, but there has been a 92% decline in the amount of hilsa and other economically important fish caught upstream. Numbers of people have attested that the Faraka barrage has been disastrous for both Bihar and Bangladesh without having any positive impact on Kolkata's port or West Bengal. Thus, the Ganga is indeed a symbol of purity, having the most malaise on her bed. Her devout must understand that the spiritual river may turn herself into ravishing destroyer someday when she breaks her serenity and comes out as a force of nature. It will then be important to witness the battle of the survival between the fiercest or the fittest. That is why, to make people understand the need of the time, new ways are to be found. Only religious tools do not work anymore. But if ecology and mythology are linked together, belief in the sacred Ganga would translate into respect for nature and therefore sustainable development. For all this, India needs to be stopped being India and approach the river from multiple perspectives. Finally, moreover, river stories need to be told and heard, especially about the pain points of the river. Environment in general is in its poor health. Printing slogans like "Let us hang on to our planet" on a shopping bag, or putting a note like "Do not print this email if not necessary" will not help in cutting down the issues of the environment. Forming committees, making grand action plans, and then outsourcing the task to agencies will also not work, as the agency would always have heftier client to satisfy. Some concrete actions are required with one's own responsibility and care for the natural assets. People around the rivers need to establish oneness with the rivers and stop threatening them only as stop treating them only as resources. For all these matters, travel writings can be effective tools to bring out the facts directly from the people and places in creative manner. And studying these narratives, it may motivate a few people to initiate the real action for the change and making nature and culture bond stronger. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions from other participants? Okay, so nobody wants to ask
I have,
anything?
I
Okay,
have an observation, just an
okay.
observation. It's not a question. You mentioned that about travel writing, and you mentioned about the action plans. Now, are these the data that you have given? There is some very hardcore scientific data about pollution. For example, chromium and so are the travel writers learned enough to put in this, or they are sourcing this data from scientific bodies and merging it with their travel writing? What I am interested to know is travel writing as a literary genre is getting blended with hardcore scientific data. Is this what is happening? Or there is a travel writing narrative and then there is scientific data?
These writers who have visited banks of the river, most of them have met local NGOs or IITs or NITs, and they have taken the help of reports from the local industries or people. They have also visited scientists at these different academic institutes, and based on their research or data, they have tried to verify them, or they have tried to meet people and discuss with them and check what is the situation when the research was done and now what is the current scenario. So the names of the chemicals or the deformity related data, they are written, they are verified with these travel writers, and then they are explaining in their travel writings.
So the format of travel writing, the genre itself is also changing.
Yes, it is not purely just creative writing.
Mm. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
And
And
few writers like to say,
this is the full thing that you are mentioning. This I
yes,
wanted to show
yes,
people.
exactly.
This is a good initiative. In this box, out of the pressed flowers, incense sticks are made, and this is very eco-friendly. This full thing. Am I putting it right? Yeah. This is something. Yes. Right. So this is really good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you very much, both also for the showcasing of the product.